Hello, Trisha. This is Meryl Castle, the coroner. How are you holding up today? Oh, hi, Miss Castle. I'm hanging in there, I guess. Is this a bad time? We could talk another time if it is. No, it's fine. I'm just going through some of Mom's things, paperwork and stuff. Yes, that can be very overwhelming. There are services which can help you with that. Oh, no, that's okay. I think I've got it. But I really appreciate it, Miss Castle. Please, call me Meryl. I want you to feel comfortable talking about any needs you have. Think of me as a friend. Oh, really? Of course. Not all funeral directors are as sensitive to forms of certain kinds of grief. Like what? What kinds? Well, it depends on the relationship. You're experiencing one of the worst we can have. A daughter losing her mother. Oh, well, I guess it happens to all of us, eventually, right? I mean, I'm not special. Yes, but it's not as simple as that. With a parent, it's a whole other form of grief. I know, and I'm sure I'll deal with it in my own time, but right now, I'm just a little numb. Of course, everyone would be. I certainly was. It's only natural. The stages of grief are a real thing, but just don't expect to experience them in order. Yeah, well, and I'm also just really overwhelmed right now. It's still only been a week since the funeral. Well, this is about the time reality begins to set in, dear. Wow, I've never met a coroner so blunt. I mean, not that I've met many coroners. To tell you the truth, I've never even been to many funerals, much less planned one. Well, I try to be more honest than blunt, but sometimes it comes out that way. I apologize. And you did a wonderful job. I've seen people handle it in every way imaginable. Well, I can only imagine. I guess in times of crisis, I just move from one task to the next. Mom always said I was reliable in a crisis. And you don't have to apologize for being blunt. I respect bluntness. Mom was blunt. When you spend most of your time talking to the dead, you often forget your manners. Right. I can imagine it could be a lonely job. It can be, yes. That is, unless the dead people talk back, right? That was a joke, by the way. They don't talk back. Don't worry. Usually. Okay. So, thanks for calling. Very considerate of you. Oh, and how is Phil, your stepfather? We tried to get a hold of him, but the number was no good. I wouldn't be surprised if he gave you a fake number. And I wouldn't know how he is. We haven't talked since the funeral. We never exactly got along. I'm sorry to hear that. I know those types of relationships can often be difficult, especially when the connecting family member dies. Yeah, you're right. I guess I haven't thought of it like that. A connecting family member. Does that mean that him and I aren't connected anymore? Because to be honest, I really have no issues with that. I'm not so sure about that, but it can be very trying for both parties. Have you considered that he may be grieving in his own way? Trust me, Meryl, he ain't grieving. He had her stuff for sale the very next day. Oh, really? Well, some people feel the need to rid themselves of possessions that remind them of the deceased. Is that why he pawned all of her jewelry that was supposed to go to me? But the velvet couch that she made him promise he'd never let go on the curb? Hiring a lawyer to try to weasel his way into my measly inheritance, is that grieving? Well, I would say no. I have to tell you, it's very weird spilling my guts to a funeral director, so you call every family and check up on them? Yes, of course. So many people can feel alone after a service, when everything has died down and the departed has been put to rest. Yeah, I know what you mean. And I started my career as a hospice nurse, so I'm sympathetic to people experiencing this transitory period. Well, thanks again for reaching out. I really appreciate it. You're very welcome, Trisha. Would it be alright if I texted you again sometime soon? Sure, yeah, that would be okay, I guess. And if you do speak to your stepfather, please do tell him to get in touch with me. I'm not so sure that's a good idea. Why is that? He's toxic. Totally bad news. I think you should just leave him alone. Okay, well, if you say so, he did seem okay in our conversations. Quite charming, really. That's just his game, believe me. He charms everyone, then he takes them for all they've got. He's a big deal at some bank. I can't believe he hasn't gotten caught embezzling funds or something. Trisha, I have a question for you, if you don't mind me asking. Okay, sure. Well, how did your mother die? The autopsy said natural causes, but she was only 66 years old. That's the thing. No one really knows. The closest they could come up with was a heart attack. Well, at least she didn't suffer. We can be grateful for that. I'll speak with you again soon, Trisha. Bye, Meryl. Thanks again.
Trisha, where have you been?
I've been around. Why? Do you need something?
Well, you are my stepdaughter. Don't you think we should keep in touch?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Are we technically still related, though?
I think so.
Oh, well, that's too bad.
Look, I'm very sorry that you apparently hate me now. I wish there was something I could do about it.
Well, you could stop selling all of my mom's stuff.
What have I sold?
Her clothes, her art, her books.
Well, what would I want with any of that?
Did you ever stop to consider the fact that I might want some of it?
Why? It's just a bunch of old crap. Why are you so sentimental?
Gee, why would I ever be so sentimental about my mother's jewelry?
Oh, is that what this is about? Jeez, I'll go to the pawn shop and get them back.
No, I'll get them. What's the name of it?
Chucky's, but I don't know why you'd want to go in there for. He knows me.
I don't care who you know. But gee, I bet he doesn't take couches, specifically velvet ones.
Oh, great. Now you're gonna get in on me about that nasty old couch?
It wasn't nasty until you put it out on the street. That thing was worth thousands.
Oh, thousands, you say?
Yeah, way to go throwing it out. Real smooth move, X-Lax. I guess that's one thing you can't make money off of her with.
Oh, stop it. You're just jealous.
Jealous of what? What could I possibly be jealous of when it comes to you?
My relationship with your mother, of course. You were always jealous of it. You thought I took her away from you. You thought I was stealing her.
Don't play that therapy game with me, Phil. I've already been through therapy. I've very much made up my mind about how I feel about you.
Oh, really? And how's that? I'd just love to know how my stepdaughter, who I've done nothing but support, year after year, who I put through college...
Oh, stop it. You didn't contribute 1 cent to my college fund, and you know it.
I did so. I paid for your parking pass that one time your mother couldn't find her checkbook.
And you hounded her to pay you back for weeks.
Well, it was expensive.
And that's the other thing, Phil. You're the cheapest man I've ever met. Thank God Mom had a fund set aside, otherwise you'd have had her buried in a cardboard box.
It would have been biodegradable at least. Don't you care about the environment?
Whatever.
Well, I paid for her insulin, but she never told you that.
You did?
Yeah, that last batch she got in the mail, just a week before she died, actually. And you don't hear me asking you to reimburse me for that, even though I should.
So how much insulin do you have at the house?
Enough to take care of me for a while if I ever have the misfortune of ever needing it.
Why don't you just donate it? Other people need it. You don't.
Yeah, but I might need it someday, and it's mine. I paid for it.
Technically, it's my mother's.
And she was my wife, so technically it's mine, just like everything in that storage locker should be mine.
Oh, is that why you're talking to that scummy TV lawyer? The storage locker Mom left me in my inheritance?
I at least have the right to go through it first, Trisha. That's the only right thing to do. Your mother would have wanted that.
You don't know anything about what she would have wanted. She left whatever's in that for me and me alone to see.
The will doesn't say that, though.
Yes, it does, Phil. Maybe you should actually try reading it. That is, if you could even understand it.
I want to know what's in there, Trisha.
Well, I'll tell you when I get in there and find out. Maybe. If I feel like it.
You haven't been inside yet? But you have the key, right? Her lawyer gave it to you.
Not that it's any of your business, but no, I haven't been inside yet.
But why?
Because I just haven't been ready yet. That's why, okay? If you must know.
Oh, well, okay. But let me know when you do. I want to be kept up to date.
Fine, Phil. I'll let you know. And until then, please just leave me alone. I seriously just need some space right now. I need some time to be alone and think about things.
Reflect?
Yeah, something like that.
Fair enough. I know you're going through your mourning and all.
It's actually spelled morning, Phil, with a U.
No, it isn't. A U? Huh, okay.
In this context, yes it is.
I think I'm pretty sure it's spelled morning.
And it would appear as if I was the only one.
Trisha, I loved your mother. I hope someday you'll realize this.
Whatever.
And I hope we can someday repair our relationship and be a family again.
Oh God, I think I'm going to throw up.
Oh, I hope you aren't getting what your mother had.
Now why would I, considering we don't even know what she had? Perhaps when the autopsy results come back.
Perhaps.
And then again, perhaps not. Right, Phil? Hi, Trisha. It's Meryl again. I just wanted to check in with you again and see how you're doing. Thank you, Meryl. That's very kind of you. I'm doing okay, I guess. I just wish the autopsy report would come back. Yes, well, that's part of why I'm calling. You see, the results of the autopsy are in. They are? They're in? You have them there with you? Yes. Would you like to know what my findings were? Yes, of course I would. Well, I wanted to let you know how unusual some of these results were. Oh, really? How so? I eventually had to mark the results as inconclusive, but your mother did have a rather curious amount of insulin in her system. She did? Yes, her file does list her as diabetic, but her dosage simply was not this high. In fact, very few are.
So what are you saying, Meryl?
Well, I'm saying if her insulin levels were just a bit higher, I'd be referring the matter to the police.
What? So you think she was murdered?
No, I didn't say that. I'm just saying it was an unusually large amount.
Oh my God, Phil did it. Phil was responsible for my mother's death.
Let's not jump to any conclusions.
Jump? It's not a jump at all. If anything, it's just a tiny little baby step.
We would need more proof before we could do anything about it. Before we could go to the police.
But we could at least see what they say, ask for advice.
I'm not so sure that's a good idea yet.
But why not? We can't let him get away with it.
And if he did anything, then we won't. But we must proceed with caution. I had a similar situation once. A young man in your situation.
His stepdad was a suspected murderer too?
No, his uncle, in fact. His mother had died as well, and no one could figure out why. The coroner came up with nothing. The police couldn't figure it out.
What happened?
Well, eventually this kid figured it out. His uncle was a chemist, you see, and he had used some sort of strange, untraceable poison.
Well, then how did he figure it out?
He found some mail-order catalogs in his uncle's basement for some strange chemicals. It wasn't a lot to go on at first, but it was a start, and things snowballed from there. Eventually, he was able to prove it, and the uncle was sent to prison for life.
Wow, really?
Stranger things have happened, but you have to have patience.
The storage locker.
What?
The storage locker that my mom left me.
Your mother left you a storage locker?
Yes, and everything in it, but I haven't gone yet.
Why not?
Well, I guess I just haven't felt like I've been ready yet.
I understand.
Honestly, I'm afraid of finding too many things in there that will trigger memories.
Good or bad?
Both.
Of course, it's always a mix of both, no matter how much we loved someone.
But on the other hand, there could be something in there that explains her death, or my stepdad's potential role in it.
I know you can do it, Trisha.
Thanks, Meryl. I really appreciate that.
If you'd like, I could come with you.
To the storage locker?
Well, yes.
Oh, okay. I mean, if you really want to.
Only if you feel you need the moral support.
I guess I could use as much as I can get.
Well, then I'll be there.
Meryl, you're a very interesting coroner.
Thank you. Hi, Trisha. Are we still on for today?
Yeah, but you'll never guess what I just found.
What?
I just got home and things around here just look different.
Different? What do you mean different?
I mean, I swear, things have been moved around. My toiletries, even my food in the fridge.
The food in your fridge?
Yeah, it's really weird.
Are you certain you didn't just rearrange things and forget?
Of course not. I would never forget rearranging my fridge.
Well, I've done it before, several times, in fact.
Well, I'm not exactly surprised by that, Meryl, but nevertheless, this is very weird.
Well, does anyone else have access to your apartment, like a spare key or anything?
Phil?
Phil has a spare key to your apartment. Why?
Phil didn't, but my mom did. Is it possible?
What?
Could he have been messing with my food?
Oh dear. Do you think he could be?
I don't know what that psycho is capable of, but I'm not taking any chances.
What are you going to do?
I'm throwing out every piece of food in my fridge. That's what I'm doing.
I would recommend this as well.
God knows what he could have contaminated it with. Insulin, arsenic, it could be anything.
Oh dear.
Could we test it? Could we test the food for poison?
Well, it might take a little while, but of course we could do that.
Why don't you come over here and get a sample of this potato soup? If he was to put it in anything, it would be that. My mom made it and froze it. It was my favorite, you see. That's the last of it.
And then we'll go to the storage locker.
Trisha, where have you been, young lady? I expected to hear something from you.
Something from me or something about me?
What are you talking about? Have you had a taste for Mom's potato soup or something? You just had to have it one last time?
Huh?
Or were you going to just make sure that I had it for the very last time? What's that supposed to mean? Is there something you want to say to me, little girl?
I finally went to the storage locker, Phil.
You did? I told you to tell me before you went there.
Oh, I did? It must have slipped my mind. Maybe that's a symptom of insulin poisoning.
Insulin poisoning? Now, why would you have insulin poisoning?
I don't know. Maybe it runs in the family?
I'm beginning to not like what you're implying, Trisha.
There's no implication about it, Phil. I have the diaries.
Diaries? What diaries?
Mom's diaries from the storage locker?
Well, so what? What do they say?
Well, here's a juicy little quote the county prosecutor might enjoy. I believe my husband may be trying to poison me.
What? That's a lie. That's a damn lie.
And if anything ever happens to me, he would be the one to have done it.
That's a bunch of crap. You're making that up. I want some proof.
Well, I already sent you the picture.
I didn't get no damn picture.
Old men and their phones. Let me try sending it again. Get it?
So what? You could have forged these.
Oh, but did I forge these? Did you get it?
What is this? Chemical test results? What is this for? Looks like Spanish to me.
Potato soup. Mom's potato soup. That is, if you can still call it that. You really put a lot of insulin in there, Phil. You really wanted me gone.
Whatever, you can't prove any of this.
It's not my job to prove it. It's the state's job.
Well, good luck to them then. Hey, who's this signed by? That name looks familiar.
Oh, the coroner? Yes, you met her briefly for the 5 seconds you pretended to care.
Well, how is she involved in all of this?
Moral support, so to speak.
I'd never hurt your mother, Trisha. I'd never hurt you. You've got to believe me. This must be some kind of a mistake. Don't go to the police. Please don't go to the police. Please.
Oh, Phil.
We can work it out just between us, can't we? I mean, that's what your mother would have wanted, right?
I think I know what she would have wanted, and she's just about to get it. After a trove of overwhelming evidence was presented, Phil was found guilty of murder and attempted murder and received life in prison without the possibility of parole. He is still attempting to prove his innocence, recently writing a book titled I Didn't Do It, which has yet to find a publisher. Trisha eventually went through the rest of the contents of the storage locker and found something else her mother didn't want Phil to find: her real jewelry, not the fake stuff Phil pawned. The interviews the eccentric, quirky Meryl gave about the case on cable news quickly went viral, and she soon got her own show on the Discovery Channel, which was, of course, a massive success.